Today is the 2nd of September 2023. It won't take weeks, I can tell you that. It will take months. Will it take years? Not a clue. Maybe. Maybe. So I really want to finish a sketchbook. I found an old one. I got it in France. We went to a Monet museum, which is why it's got his lily pads on the front. Anyway, my goal is to finish this sketchbook. So, I mean, this is the first page of my sketchbook. When I got my alcohol markers, you can see that I'm trying to blend two completely different colours together. So I guess I'm making this video as a recording to see how long it took me. Today is the 2nd of September 2023. It won't take weeks, I can tell you that. It will take months. Will it take years? Not a clue. Maybe. But yeah, let's see if I can finish this art book. 2nd of September 2023. How long will it take me to fill and finish? So yes, it did take me years to finish this sketchbook rather than months or weeks, which clearly I knew would happen. So essentially, I started this sketchbook in 2015, and then in 2016 there is a massive gap where I didn't do anything, and I think it's because I just only drew digitally. So there are 6 years where I didn't use it at all. So if you think about it, I mean, it took me 4 years to finish this sketchbook, which is still quite a long time. And then obviously from when I started the video in 2023, it took me 2 and a bit years to finish half a sketchbook, which is still quite a long time, but it's finally done. I finally finished my first ever sketchbook. I do have some other old sketchbooks that I found, which is really frustrating because I bought Gret Lusky's Mossery art kit, and I was telling myself that once I finished this sketchbook, I would unbox it and use that one, which I'm still going to do the unboxing and give it a go because that was my treat to me for finishing this sketchbook. But I really want my sketchbooks in order, like sketchbook 1, sketchbook 2, and now I've got several on the go. So I'm gonna have to figure out what to do with those. Maybe I'll just use them for like warm-ups or like anatomy practice or something, like have a messy sketchbook and then Mossery can be like my nice sketchbook. We'll see. So welcome to my first ever sketchbook tour. I hope that you enjoy it. Hello and welcome to the tour of my 10-year-old sketchbook. So I've been trying to piece together this timeline, and I think it was Christmas 2015 when I started this sketchbook because I was gifted a set of Copic markers, which I still have, and they still work really well, but I don't know whether that's just because I've not used them very often. And the first art I created with them was this Alice in Wonderland piece. I was a trainee teacher at the time, so I had the Christmas holidays off, and I remember sitting on my parents' living room floor and just having so much fun making this and trying them out. I believe my inspiration at the time was a YouTuber called Love Teacup Kisses, but I saw a while ago she's moved away from doing art and has focused instead on some of her other hobbies. So I don't think her art YouTube is active anymore, but I will put it all up on screen for you to see. So the first page in my sketchbook, I used these Copic markers to create this. And as I said before, you can see I've tried to blend two completely different colours. That didn't work out at all, but I had just got them and I was just experimenting and having some fun with them. And while trying to put together when some of these pieces were done, I thought this was done November 2015, which would have been before I got my markers, but I'm pretty sure I got them for Christmas. So this may have been another December drawing because it was also with the Copic markers. I remember experimenting with the blank marker to make the lighter trees in the background and layering the same colours on top of each other to make shadows and trying to make like a grassy effect, which didn't quite work out. And at this point, my digital art which I was doing with Paint Tool Sai and a Wacom bamboo tablet, was so much better than my traditional art at this time. And the oldest digital art I could find was from 2017. And these were the first pieces I made on an iPad using Procreate, which I hated, and then proceeded to ignore my iPad until I tried again in 2019 and created this whale piece. So those 2017 iPad pieces were not my peak of my digital art over those years. I had just, it was the switch from the Wacom to the iPad, but I couldn't find any digital art that I'd made using Paint Tool Sai. It must have been lost, I think, through, changing devices and computers and things like that, which is a shame. But anyway, next page is a mermaid with my Copic markers, which I've managed to blend a bit better this time on the tail and the hair. The Hop Floof was a meme at the time, I think, where people would make up new names for animals, and one of my friends from university, I believe, said I should draw a rabbit, and so I did. I don't know why it's wearing a scarf. You can see again, I've tried using the blank marker to try and create like a little pattern on the dark scarf, but I don't know if you can see that very well. It wasn't really the effect I was going for, and I think I may have used the blank marker to try and lighten up parts of the rabbit, which isn't too bad. I'm not sure about the texture of it, but it's sort of done its work. So the beginning of this timeline, I am really confused by, because this was apparently also December 2015, and I had just all the time in the world to draw over the 2 weeks of Christmas school holidays. And you know what? Maybe I did. I don't know. As I've gotten older, I definitely find I don't have as much time or motivation sometimes to sit down and pump out as much art as I used to. But anyway, this was done with watercolours, and it would make sense that this was done in December because of the wintry theme we have going on. I still really like this, to be honest, and for years I've been meaning to make my own Christmas card, and I was thinking about redoing this digitally to make some. I went through a bit of a phase of adding stars and a galaxy touch to my drawings, and I think that was thanks to an artist called Chinny, who sadly passed away in 2020. Her Instagram is still up if you want to check out her artwork, which is so beautiful. More watercolours. This paper wasn't really the best for watercolours, as it's not really made for wet media, I don't think, but watercolours has always been my paint of choice, though I don't really paint anymore and have moved on to alcohol markers and paint markers and digital art. A teeny tiny dragon on a teeny tiny mushroom. I'm honestly not convinced I did all of these pages in the 2 weeks in December, but I suppose it's not impossible. I am a massive introvert, and when I was living with my parents, they live in a village, so it wasn't like I could get into town easily to do things, and even though I had the time off as a teacher, my friends live in different parts of the country, and they wouldn't have got the same time off as I did. So it is possible I did all of these in the 2 weeks of Christmas in 2015. Yeah, it's just really confused me. Some watercolours again. I still really like this, actually. I think I must have seen something that inspired me with the background, as honestly, scenery is still one of my weakest drawing skills. Also, a lot of the early art in my sketchbook are one-page artworks rather than multiple sketches on one page, because I went through a long stage and sometimes still fall back into it, where I want everything in my sketchbook to be a completed piece of art. It's only later where I start using it as a bit more of a sketchbook for sketching. I don't remember what prompted me to draw this, but I believe it is a Chinese guardian lion, like those statues that you find, and this was done using coloured crayons and an ink liner. A simple portrait where I gave her no nostrils for some reason. So if I remember correctly, I was still doing my teacher training at this time, and we were doing science, biology, and looking at how animals have evolved to fit their environment. And one of the tasks I asked the kids to do was to pick an environment that we'd looked at and design their own creature with features that would help them survive. I obviously decided to join in as well and took the opportunity to design myself a sea monster. I didn't actually show the kids this, I don't think. I just took it as an excuse to draw a sea monster. If I was doing it properly now, I would do a bit more research on deep sea creatures to make it more convincing. But I just used it as like an art prompt, an excuse to draw something. A little bird sketch and doing some more alcohol markers and galaxy stuff. I remember enjoying blending them to make this sort of effect, actually. So we're now into January 2016, and I'm still not fully convinced about the start of this timeline, but for this one, I think I was inspired by lots of isometric artwork, especially ones that sort of look like they go up to the page and you can see under the earth or under the water. Hopefully you know what I mean. I don't really know how to explain it, but I'm pretty sure that's what inspired it. I really like this quote, and I think it fit perfectly with doing more galaxy art. Ironically though, I'm not the biggest fan of the dark. I don't need to switch the lights on if I get up in the night, but I hate going up the stairs in the dark still. So yeah, but I really do love this quote. A little watercolour piece. Maybe I was feeling a bit down this day. I can't really remember, though I do remember seeing other art of where the weather is inside the umbrella and is different to the outside of the umbrella. So maybe something like that inspired this. Just something I never coloured in. These next ones I don't really have a lot to say about, as I don't really remember what might have inspired them or what I was feeling at the time. But yeah, this one I just never coloured in. Yeah, nothing. Watercolours again. Don't remember it. Just some more markers. Doing I think I remember looking up some shapes and patterns and stuff and trying to recreate them. This was me attempting to draw myself as a Hufflepuff, even though I know those are not the colours. I don't remember why I chose a rabbit as a Patronus, and I drew a little cat pet, as that's what I would have chosen over a toad and an owl. Also, I don't know what my deal was with not drawing nostrils, but I have and still do tend to draw myself without my glasses. 50% because glasses are hard to get right, and the other 50% because I prefer how I look without glasses, even though I have a much better relationship with wearing them now than I did when I was younger. I still don't, and I wear them all the time. When I was younger, I used to take them off and just walk around blind. But I do wear them a lot more now, and I like them a lot better, but I still don't particularly draw myself with them. A happy little pup that I remember being quite happy with at the time. I think I wanted to colour him in, but couldn't decide what sort of colours or patterns I wanted to do, so I left him white. And I think I quite like it white. I don't think it really needs any sort of colouring or pattern. It looks nice as it is. So a little sketch page I did while sat out in the sunshine, I believe, just getting references off Pinterest. I really like this little guy and his ears. So I drew this on the same day as the other page, and I think I did this one because my dad accused me of only drawing dogs, which in his defense was a lot of what I drew as a kid growing up, and he was saying it in jest. But I did this page as well just to prove that I can draw other things when I try. I used to draw on little bits of card while I was at home sometimes as well, and my dad has actually put up a couple of them on his PC with magnets, because I don't know, I guess he likes them, which is really nice. This was actually inspired by the song Grow Till Tall by John Z. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. And now that I've remembered that this artist exists, I'm going to go and listen to his songs again, because they just have this magical lightness to them. He's done more songs since I last listened to him, and this came from the album Go. And I believe he has done some music for How to Train Your Dragon But yeah, that was the inspiration, and I really like it actually. I like that she's in black and white and the only colour is the trees and plants growing out of her. I can imagine the art that was the inspiration behind trying something new with the face and the hair, but I can't for the life of me remember which artist I was looking at the time. I've gone through my Instagram to see if I'm still following her, and I don't think I am because I have switched accounts. So I just can't remember who the artist was that inspired trying like this type of face and hair and everything. But she did the cute round eyebrows, and I think she drew hair a certain way, and I feel like she drew lots of succulents. But yeah, so I can't remember the artist who was the inspiration behind this, but I do still like this little piece, though I'm actually not a fan of the hair anymore. I think I must have been playing one of the Pokemon games at the time. This was still in 2016, and I looked it up, and Sun and Moon came out in the November, but this was definitely before November, as I have Inktober prompts in here. So this might have been in anticipation of the new game, as I did play Moon, or I was playing a previous game. Not to age myself, but I still think the early generations were the best ones. I really don't like a lot of the newer designs, but I'm not going to get on my soapbox about that right now. But I do still like this piece, I just think it's fun. I'm actually not sure what inspired this one, but I do still like it. Unless it was doing some sketches or practice, I didn't really use references and did a lot of stuff just on the fly, and I feel like I've gone in the opposite direction to the extreme. Like, I can't draw now unless I have a reference, which isn't necessarily bad, but it's also not great, because unless I see that perfect reference that sparks something, I really struggle to just let things flow from my imagination. So I think that's something I want to try and work on this year. And this is where I start Inktober. I wanted to do a majority of these in black and white using some ink liners and just adding pops of colour to certain areas. I did this one with colouring pencils and then decided to go back to my Copic markers, as that felt more ink-like and acceptable for the challenge. I also had some gold ink. I think it was in a bottle, or it was some gold shimmery watercolour paint. I can't really remember. I don't even know if I've still got it. It might be somewhere. And I did use a reference for the skull on this one. And this one is a quote from Watership Down, which, brilliant film. But whoever called it a kids' film is absolutely lying, like absolutely traumatising. But it is such a good film. And another portrait of a person with no nostrils. And I was weirdly really happy with this, as I'm not a fan of spiders. I did look up references for this, which was not the most fun I've had searching for references, but I do remember liking how the spider came out and the shadows beneath the spider, and how it doesn't look so flat like the other pieces. Like, it's not quite 3D, but it doesn't look flat because of the shadow, and I was really and like the placement of the legs, so I was really happy with that. Never finished it though. I think the idea behind it was to create like a small section of a witch's table with skulls and flowers and potions. Another witchy character. I really like the colour of her hair in this one, and I actually quite like the little gold accents. Don't know if you can see that very well, but it's very shiny. I don't know if this one was part of Inktober, but I can see I've used the gold ink again here, and I remember wanting to do some sort of calligraphy, which, you know, it was the first time trying to do fancy writing, so it's not great, but I tried. Another watercolour painting, and I think this one was inspired by another artwork I saw, but it was like a one-off piece I saw rather than someone I follow. So I'm not sure who or what. Not sure what's going on with her choppy haircut, to be honest. Not sure what inspired this one, but we're now into 2017. I don't think I did a lot of art in 2017 because being a teacher was stressful. 2015 was my year of training and 2016 was my first year as a qualified teacher. 2016 to 2018, I was just constantly burnt out. It was a massive period of stress and anxiety for me, job-wise. So I don't know, maybe I was feeling a bit down when I did this piece. Hands are hard. I still can't draw hands without a reference, and I still haven't quite figured out a style to draw hands in, but yeah. Now this is taking me back to my early days of drawing, where I only really drew wolves and made them fantasy. This was one of my characters I made, and she had feathers, and I used to draw her a lot. Sometimes it's just nice to go back to your roots and draw the things that feel familiar. Obviously stopped when it came to drawing the background, but at least she has a nostril this time. She can actually breathe. May 2017, so this must have been for Mermaid. Anatomy, don't know her, but I do like her accessories and her tail as they're shiny. This one doesn't have a date, but I'm pretty sure I was attempting Inktober, and the prompts I was following was an animal paired with a plant. And this time I wanted to use my watercolours to create the ink and the monochrome colours, and just a couple of colour accents like the gold detail and the green for the eyes. Yeah, unfortunately it didn't last long, as this was the last full drawing I did because I never finished the other planned drawing, which looks like it was supposed to be a mouse or rat, but I can't tell what the plant was supposed to be. And then there was the jump to 2022. And although these don't have a date, I'm pretty sure this is where the break ended. I think I was just trying to ease myself back into doing sketches by drawing some portrait practice using Pinterest references. This is also where I start using both sides of the page more, and I think you can see I felt a little bit more inspired here. I think this was the start of my issue that I have with references, where I can't start unless I have a reference for the start of an idea. And some more doodles, and I think this one here was inspired by an art I saw of a girl inside a space helmet, but there were flowers growing around her, but I've done mine as a bubble with some manta rays. And this one I drew because, if I remember right, I lost my iPad pen, and I think all of the August pages were done because I lost my iPad pen. So I had no other choice but to draw in here. I went to Cornwall for my grand's 90th, I think, and it was left in the hotel where we stayed, so they had to post it back to me. Just another Pinterest reference. I wanted to try doing an outfit rather than just a portrait, and this side was for a Draw Your Monster challenge. So this one is mine, I'll put it up on the screen. And this one was going to be for one of my friends, and she was the one who answered the questions in order to make the monster. I ended up going with something similar to this one, but never actually finished it because there was just something about it I wasn't vibing with. So this is the unfinished piece. This is as far as I got. I might go back and try again though, and I like these little thumbnails down here. So I might see if I can make something out of those. A Pinterest spread, trying to make a prettier sketch spread, and we're halfway through 2023 now. I believe these were from Line of Action. I guess I just decided to try some studies one day. I don't know whether these two pages were before or after I made my first video saying I wanted to try and finish the sketchbook. It might have been after, and this is me beginning to try and fill it. More portrait practice, and I do really like a few of these, though I don't know what the hell that's supposed to be. I really like the expression of this one here, and I'm really happy with how this one came out. And these ones here, I was just looking at how different artists drew eyes and practiced a few expressions. More practice of eyes, and this is from October 2023. And this is also from October 2023, but I don't think it was for an Inktober or Drawtober drawing. I think I just wanted to try and draw something spooky that I never finished. Maybe this is another one I should go back and try and finish digitally, because I like the concept of it. And a jump to February 2024, and you can really see here that drawing is a muscle you have to use, because these are just not as good as the previous portraits I did. I fell back to doing more digital art, and so was out of practice with traditional. Some long boys back when the "I do it for you" sound was doing the rounds on TikTok. So I wanted to do more doodling on scrap pieces of paper so I could stick them in my sketchbook as a sort of collage. It didn't really happen, but I do like some of the little sketches I've done here. And underneath is just from when I was watching some tutorial about how to draw the torso. Oh God. Oh man. Bit of a disaster, guys. Forgot I had a candle burning, and oh no. I lifted the page up over the candle, so we've lost a badger and the dog's face. Oh well, we're just gonna ignore that, right guys? We're just gonna ignore that happened. Don't be stupid like me. Spatial awareness, don't know her, but at least it smells nice in here now. It's nice and smoky. Anyway, this page I think was around where I got my first smudge stick, because you can see I've used it here for this cat, which I was really proud of at the time. I'm still quite happy with it, and I quite like using the smudge stick now. I've completely lost my train of thought. Bloody hell. This was around the time I was getting a bit fed up and was like, come on, I need to finish the sketchbook, because honestly, I was so sick of looking at it and wanted to move on to something else. I told myself I wouldn't buy a nice Mossery sketchbook until I'd finished this sketchbook. And so I did some practice sketches using line of action. You can see here I've noted down the different timings of how long the image was on the screen for. So you've got 10 seconds here, I think that's 1 minute. And then you slowly build up to getting more time. It used up a few pages, and that was the point, but I really should use it more because it was a good website. I mean, it is a good website to help you with studies. That's a 10-minute one. Here I've moved on from Inktober to Drawtober, and I drew this in September in preparation for Drawtober because I've never been able to finish a whole October challenge, as you've seen. And so my challenge to me was just to draw as much as possible in that month, but I did start a little early and used them as a sketch for finishing the lined piece digitally during October. I really liked this one, and I ended up colouring it in digitally as well. This prompt was a mushroom, so I decided to draw some sleepy little mushroom guys, which I thought was really cute. I think I prefer this sketch to the digitally lined piece I did. And this one was Ghost, and I did some thumbnail ideas before settling on the cat. I'm not sure I'm entirely happy with how it came out, and I still like the idea of the birds and the rabbit ghosts. So those are some other ideas I might try and do digitally. These weren't the only ones I did for Drawtober, but they are the ones I started in my sketchbook. This was my first sketchbook session I posted on YouTube. I just sat down one evening, felt like using my coloured pencils, and recorded myself. I don't like this page, and I clearly didn't like the page because I wasn't fussed about the bleed through. I guess I just wasn't feeling very inspired this day. It's just, yeah. This was my second sketchbook session inspired by the colour green. Just ignore the salmon. I was under the impression there was more green in a salmon until I looked up a picture. And by then I was already committed. So, but it was a nice excuse to fill up another page with swatches. I really like the blending I did on the beetle, to be fair. Another not really feeling it page. And my third sketchbook session. I think I got my paint markers for Christmas 2024, but hadn't used them yet because I love collecting new art supplies, but then because I'm afraid to use them, because my brain just wants to make nice finished art instead of just giving things a go and practicing and trying different things, it took me ages to actually use them. So I forced myself to sit down and use my paint pens on a sketch I thought was coming along really well. And I think it came out okay, though I'd like to try blending them a bit more rather than just using them as flat colours. I did try with the flowers, but I'm not really convinced by them. But it was a good first practice piece. I really like this page. I wanted to sketch using my coloured pencils, and I think pigeons are really pretty. These were actually really fun to draw and colour, though looking back, I fear the rabbit reference might have been AI because the background didn't really make sense. Like, I never had that worry with any of my other art sketches earlier in the book. And now you've just got to be so careful with Pinterest, even though I've turned AI images off. A lot of them do still seem to be AI images, unfortunately. So I cut out and stuck in some scribbles from this little book because I've decided I want to use this book for just warm-up scribbles. I may use the coloured paper from time to time, but I would cut it out and stick it in a proper sketchbook after. But yeah, I just use it for quick warm-ups at the moment. I also found some old pens and just doodled something based on their colour names. So green, violet, lemon yellow, and a unicorn on a post-it note because I didn't feel like the portrait really matched the vibe of the other pictures. So I drew a little unicorn instead. I was once again getting sick of this sketchbook, so I was just doing anything here to fill up the page. But we're into this year now, 2026. So for Christmas, my mum bought me a tree decoration, which was a sort of like a fabric decoration of a stingray, and it had beads and it was so cute. So I wanted to draw it. I also got myself a jellyfish decoration from the same shop, but didn't draw it in the end because we had to pack away the decorations eventually. Here, I just wanted to draw using an ink pen, so not in pencil where I can erase mistakes, just straight in with some black ink. And another sketch practice here. I like the torso, but the face is really bugging me. I'm so spoilt with the warp tool on digital programs because I could just like tweak around and fix it. So it can be frustrating doing traditional art sometimes. But yeah, I'm quite happy with the torso, but the face is putting me off. So I wanted to practice drawing different facial features. I quite like these two at the top here. And I wasn't quite happy with this page until I did this post-it note, and I really like how that came out. I stuck it over this one because it was awful. But yeah, no, after I did the post-it note, I was quite happy with it. I really like the hair on these two pieces. Hair is something I really want to try and practice this year so I can find a proper style of doing it, because my technique just changes every time and I find hair quite hard to draw. This was around the time I treated myself to some Pentel supplies. So I got a Pentel Graph Gear pen and some Pentel colouring pencils. I'm not going to lie, they are really nice. Saw this image on Pinterest, had to draw it, loved the level of sass it was giving off. So on these two pages, I'm trying different pencils and did an animal page here. I really like this page. I think my favourite is the is the seal. And although I switched off, as I said, AI images on my Pinterest, the more I thought about it, the more I feel like the hamster might have been AI, just because of the way the cape was draped around him and the little hat. It's really sad that every image I see now I have to stop and decide if it's real or not. But anyway, I'll get off my soapbox about that. We're almost at the end here. These two pages, I wanted to try again drawing straight onto the paper with pens you can't erase. So I think this is just a generic ballpoint pen, and those are some fine tip colour pens I found. I tried to match up the colours to the subjects on this one, so you know, like red cherries, blue fish, orange crab sort of thing. And these are the last two pages, which I'm still really proud of. They were Pinterest references, but I like the hair on each of them and the softness of the pencils. I have been watching a lot of Sarah Teppis's videos lately, and I love how soft and dreamy her sketches always look. So I'm trying to incorporate a bit of that softness into my sketches too. And that's it. The back pages are just filled with swatches. So that is this sketchbook officially finished. December 2015-ish to January 2026. It's nice to see my journey though, and how much I have improved. So now on to the next sketchbook, and hopefully it won't take as long as this one. I've got my Mossery sketchbook kit to unbox and try, but I also have some more old sketchbooks that are barely started that I need to do something with as well. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and following me on my trip down memory lane and also setting fire to my house. Please give a like and a follow if you enjoyed this video. It gives a lot of encouragement for me to post more. And hopefully I will see you in the next video. Bye!